YouTuber who's leading the way. Yeah. He's got a passion for all things nerdy. Dungeons and Dragons, his world's not blurry. From comics to movies, he's got it all. He's an Outpost nerd living in a geeky world with his lightsaber shining. He's a Star Wars swerve through galaxies and adventures. He'll take you there, take you there. He's an Outpost nerd, no one can compare. Nerd power. Yeah, he's the king of nerds, can't you not there?
Welcome, my nerds, geeks, and dweebs, to another transmission from the Outpost Nerd. I am the nerd of the Outpost, and I hope everyone is enjoying their Saturday. Grandma's house, thank you for coming by. And she's right. Drop a like on the stream. Show me some love, y'all. Suzanne, thank you. Leave another one with an important message. So I hope everyone's having a very good Saturday. Another sunshiny day in the Sunshine State. A little warm today, so we're getting that spring weather down here in Florida. So
Lost.
My bad. So today's topic is one that I really like. You know, I think it's something that a lot of people don't understand about tabletop gaming and its impact on mental health. Dungeons and Dragons specifically has been used as well. That's what you get for living up all in the Maple Leaf world, girl. Blame Trudeau and his carbon tax. I'm kidding. But, you know, a lot of some therapists have really talked about the the benefits for someone's mental health through using your imagination, through problem-solving skills, through creating your own stories. All are incorporated into Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop gaming in general, but I'm going to specifically focus on Dungeons and Dragons. You know, I have been very outspoken. Yeah, I think the last time it got below freezing that I can remember was 10 years ago down here, and we had a hard freeze. Never got out of the 20s for like 2 or 3 days. Everything was frozen solid and couldn't go anywhere. Schools were canceled for a few days due to ice on the ground because we down here in Florida, we don't have any infrastructure to deal with ice and snow and stuff like that. But I found some articles. This is a topic that two topics actually that I hold really dear to my heart. You know, for those who have been with me through my YouTube journey, I've been very adamant about the importance of mental health, the importance of asking for help from somebody Hey Geyser, thanks for being here, by the way. We as humans, we're social people. So to have something like D&D, you know, be a social event, to exercise those creative muscles, it really improves. I think it can improve one's social skills. It can improve one's mood. Hey Inya, thanks for being here. It improves our problem-solving abilities. There's just so many benefits that I don't think Gary Gygax or the guys from the 70s really thought of. They didn't. I don't think they understood what they were really, uh, really touching on. The tool that they were creating for psychologists and teachers. There have been many D&D clubs that sprung up, especially the last few years with this um with these forever with these D&D clubs and this D&D renaissance that we've had within the past 5 or 10 years. What's a forever DM to do? Happy to support, bud. The mental health benefits of D&D are underappreciated. Critical thinking, problem solving, social interaction, and team building. Yeah, and that's what those are pretty much topics we're gonna touch on a little bit. I found some articles I'm gonna read that really touch on those exact things. So let's get started. Let me bring up our first one. Speak for yourself, nerd. I love my empty life. No phone ringing. It's nice. No one ringing the doorbell. Even better, don't know my neighbors. I'm good. My kid knows the whole damn town. Well, not a. Yeah. I love socializing. I don't get a chance to do it much. So whenever I get out and meet new people, it's always fun for me. Well, you is smart, you is special, you is kind. See, our first article from the Hub, and not that one, not this Hub. Wrong Hub. Tabletop Therapy: How Dungeons and Dragons Can Improve Mental Health. Staff psychologist William Nation offers an innovative approach to counseling with his D&D therapy group. I would love to sit down and talk to this guy. Oh, that would be so cool. Over the past few years, Dungeons and Dragons has exploded in popularity, turning up in countless television shows, movies, and podcasts. Now the game once again has found itself somewhere new. Mental Health Services Homeward, formerly known as the Counseling Center. I'm guessing this is where Dr. Nation works. Social Skills Quest is a D&D centered therapy group run by staff psychologist William Nation with help from doctoral intern Megan Henry. Originally introduced in the spring of 2022, this innovative approach to group counseling combines role playing with traditional therapy. Yes, I'm the same way. I'm closed off sometimes, Kaiser, but then when I'm in a situation like with a group situation, it's hard to get me to shut up. Hold on a second. Let me do something. For getting back to our article, for the uninitiated, Dungeons and Dragons is a tabletop role-playing game in which players roll dice to improvise a fantastical adventure. I like this, that it's giving a little history of it and explanation, but a little better, something I didn't think to do. It was invented by Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson in 1974 and has since become the most popular game of its type, having drawn in an estimated 50 million players worldwide. The game itself serves as this sandbox, Nation explained. It allows you to experience things in a way that is different from the way you would experience them if they happen to you. There's a sort of psychological distance between whatever you're engaging in. Oh, it's changed so much. Then it's so much easier, so much more streamlined than back in the 90s. Fifth edition is so streamlined. A lot of the older players don't like it because they think it's too simple, but it allows players like I've only gotten into it in the last 5 or 6 years, and it's allowed me to really scratch that creative itch that I don't get to that often. According to Nation, this distance can be extremely useful in a therapy setting since players can explore real life problems without the potential discomforts of a one-on-one counseling session. And that's what sometimes people need to kind of basically distance themselves from their problems in order to fix it. I've heard so many writers, creators say that if you come to a problem, take a break, stop thinking about it for a while, and then sometimes those creative juices flow, and you're able to overcome that problem. He goes on to say this feels accessible to them. It's a game and they understand games. Nation got his first taste of D&D as a high schooler in the early 2000s, though he didn't become a regular player until college. Since then, he's become an expert dungeon master or DM. We all know that, leading countless campaigns both at work and in his home time. A typical D&D session with mental health services follows the same 2-hour formula from 60 to 90 minutes. Okay. First, 60 to 90 minutes are spent playing the game. Then, after the monsters are slain and the adventurers are resting around a campfire, the players take a step back to reflect on the session and how it relates to their own lives. I really like that. That's really cool to really. For a lot of people, D&D is just rolling dice and killing monsters. They don't want to experience a story. There are hack and slash players, but to take the session and relate it to your life like this, that's really good. Each campaign has about 3 to 6 players, with Nation occasionally running multiple groups at the same time. It's easier. I played in the 90s and it was so time consuming, but then when I played 8 years ago, we created characters really fast and had a lot of fun. Yeah, and like I got interested in D&D in the mid 2000s, and it was right before probably 06, 07. I got interested in it. Was the tail end of 4th edition, and I read the book and I had no idea what I was doing. But then when 5th edition came out, it became so much easier. I was able to create these characters so easy. And I have now probably 50, 60 characters in reserve. I mean, I'll just come up with this idea and create new characters. I create characters sometimes off of historical figures. And I love like reading these obscure characters in history that you like. These can't be real. These have to be made up. And then you read about them, and you find out all these amazing things they've done. And I'll take these ideas and create characters. So I'm studying history while creating D&D characters. So I'm using D&D to help study. Like one I'm going to back off this mental health and share one thing I really do. There was a British officer who served in World War I and II named Mad Jack Churchill. who, if you read up on him, this guy is a historical character of his own. He was known as fighting Jack Churchill in World War II, where he fought the Germans with a longbow, a basket-hilted Scottish broadsword, and a set of bagpipes. Picture this: that mad Scotsman. You're looking through you're a German soldier, and you're looking through your scope, and you just see this crazy guy with a longbow just pop up and just shoot you, or you're a German soldier and you come down into a foxhole, and you see your allies, they're minecrafted, full of arrows, and you're thinking, what the heck? And then you start hearing bagpipes, and you might as well just kiss your ass goodbye at this point. Oh yeah, I and you know what? The crazy thing is he got injured so many times and he just kept going back. He did not. He loved being a soldier. So I take these characters, these from history, and really create D&D characters off this. One of my favorites, another one of my favorites I'm going to share is Brigadier General Francis Marion from the Revolutionary War. He was a American soldier who basically, he basically fought in the South. He fought in South Carolina while Washington was up in New York and New Jersey and the northern colonies fighting the British there. He was able, through guerrilla tactics, which were really looked down on at this time. He took a lot of inspiration from William Wallace's war for independence, Scottish War for Independence, and he used a lot of hit and run techniques. And the Green Berets today actually consider him the father of the Green Berets. And they call him the Swamp Fox because he was just so, you couldn't find him. The enemy could not find him. He was slippery as a fox, sly as a fox. And I love taking these characters from history. Back in the 50s or 60s, Walt Disney did a series of movies with the Swamp Fox starring Leslie Nielsen in his early years. And he played a great miniseries. You can find him on YouTube if you just Google Disney Swamp Fox. So getting back to our reading, I had to go to a little tangent. I love that stuff. Different players can get different benefits from the group. For example, those struggling with anxiety can practice making choices and interacting with others without real-world consequences. Alternatively, those experiencing isolation on campus can break out of their shell and meet new people, improving their social skills. This one was a big thing for me, experiencing isolation, not just on campus, but in general. According to Nations players, these strategies work. You can test the waters with other players to see how they react to an action or dialogue and see what kind of response you might elicit with your friends and colleagues in real life, explained one student who asked to be anonymous. Overall, it feels more like a more fun version of group therapy. There's a space for open dialogue as needed and exploration of topics that would not come up in a normal group. Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to save that. I'm gonna save this list because I'm gonna look up some of these characters. It's just it allows such amazing exploration, and D&D allows us to explore our feelings, our mental status in ways that we won't be judged for a lot of times. Returning to our first article, the group has reduced my social anxiety, shared another of Nation's players. I am beyond thankful to both our DM and this group for giving me a place to feel seen and have friends when I've struggled so much at school. I wouldn't trade that experience for anything. After working with so many students, Nation now believes that the D&D format can be tailored to support almost any mental health concern. The beauty of Dungeons and Dragons, and we've seen this a lot in a lot of other more popular avenues, or we've seen this open world sandbox with Legos, and Legos is one of the most popular toys in the world. Minecraft, one of the most popular video games in the world. D&D, one of the most popular tabletop gaming games in the world. What do all those three have in common? You break down D&D, Minecraft, and Legos down to their basic thing. It is, you can be anything, you can make anything, you can do anything, and that kind of freedom, I think, is something that many people don't feel that often, that many people are missing from their daily lives. And then with D&D and Minecraft and Legos and other things like that, you get that bit of freedom for a little while. Continuing with the article, I worked with somebody who had experienced religious trauma and they found it difficult to talk about. He said, so they created a character in D&D that was a druid who has previously been a cleric and their god in the setting had died. None of that is true, but the person was talking from their own experience of being a religious person in the real world. They grieved their loss of a religious experience as the character. D&D also offers a more universal benefit, stress relief. Simply having a fun game to look forward to can be one of the greatest perks of the group, especially during midterms and final sessions. Last spring, Nation even taught students at Peabody how to lead their own campaigns in the hope of relieving some stress on campus. And students don't need to be an expert to have fun with the game. Most of Nation's players had little to no D&D experience before joining his therapy group. You can teach someone to play D&D pretty effectively in 20 minutes, he explains. It's popular for a reason. It's a pretty easy system to learn and to get people into. And that's what I think. I think it's what, with the rise of 5th edition and YouTube D&D shows like Critical Role, Legends of Evantris, Glass Cannon, which are a couple of my favorites. I think it has allowed D&D to, like I said, have that second renaissance for the stigma from the satanic panic of the 80s that really almost killed the game, I would say. Because it's still around that religious kind of apprehension about it. But it doesn't have that stigma anymore. And I think it's a mixture of how entertainment, I mean, seeing the game in like shows like The Big Bang Theory or Stranger Things, it's really allowed people to realize that there's something to it. Maybe I should look into it. And then they find the benefits that they were missing. So I have one or two more articles. This next one is from James Cook University in Australia. So let me bring that up. Dungeons and Dragons may improve mental health from James Cook, Australia. This is a recent release, so this is why I wanted to talk about it. This one specifically. The last one was another recent one. Researchers have found that people who play D&D show improvements in their mental health. James Cook University PhD researcher Alyssa Merrick led the study, which analyzed the effect the game had on 25 people who played over 8 weeks. She said, D&D is a tabletop game involving pen and paper. This is again going to a little bit of explanation of the game, so I'm going to kind of skip over this next little bit. She said researchers measured aspects of mental health of 25 people with a mean age of 28, including 8 females. 4 had never played D&D at any level. They played 8 one-hour sessions of D&D over 8 weeks before mental health was measured again. The game involved players tracking a goblin through a cave system after it's stolen from a town, and players face monsters and traps as part of this pursuit, said Miss Merrick. She said participants demonstrated significant decrease in depression, stress, and anxiety, and significant increases in self-esteem, self-efficacy over the study period. Players often say playing D&D is cathartic and provides a space to express emotions in game without concern for outside consequence. Due to the nature of the game being cooperative, D&D also offers players a sense of connectedness and a safe place to explore their mental health problems, allowing them to feel more at ease. This work and a growing number of other case studies suggest D&D can be harnessed to minimize the impact of anxiety symptoms, says Miss Merrick. Now, let's see. Let's go to the paper here. Let's see this link to the paper. Is it going to let me? Yeah, there we go. We'll just browse through this. Oh, 17 pages. Yeah, we'll definitely bounce through this. Yeah, that's too long. Oh, that's long. I'll read up to this and I'll do another. Let's do a sequel stream. I'm going to do a sequel stream and we'll go over this specifically. But let's see. And I love the exploration not only into character creation and imagination that D&D allows people to explore. It also allows us to explore trauma, to explore our own emotions. It allows us to explore all that in a really I hate using this one, safe space. It's a safe space where you won't be judged, because I've had experience where I was playing a D&D game where I was judged for the choices I made outside the game by someone who was not even playing, and it really, I haven't played in probably 4 or 5 years because of this. I haven't played with a group. I'll share that after my I read our last article. This is from KERA News of North Texas. In Denton, playing Dungeons and Dragons helps slay loneliness and improve mental health by Elena Rivera. Dungeons and Dragons, a role-playing game that started in the 1970s, has filled parents' basements with spell cards, minifigures, and battle maps for decades. But more recently, psychologists have turned to D&D as a tool to combat loneliness, anxiety, and depression in teens and adults. Dungeon Masters or DMs create the story framework for players and guide them through each session. Each player makes a character with strengths, weaknesses, and motivations to fill out the adventuring party. Then they go on quests, slaying dragons, finding treasures, and building relationships along the way. Kenneth Clevenger, who started playing back in 2015, said it's almost like improv. It's not almost like improv. It is improv. And that's another beauty of it. You could play D&D for years, play the same game, same modules, same settings, same adventure book, and you will never have the same experience. You will go through your entire D&D life and never have the same experience, no matter how hard you try to create it. You have you have the dice rolling. I remember my very first session I ever played of D&D. We were this evil group. I've shared this before. Hired to track down and unalive some heroes. In our first session, okay, Inya, but how do you face that evil? How do you handle it? Sometimes people don't know how to handle it. So D&D is a good tool to learn how to handle it. So sometimes you just need to get out there. So you need to get out of the world and into the world of D&D, I mean. Kenneth hosts weekly games at D20 Tavern in Denton. Love to go there. It's a bar with a floor-to-ceiling ceiling wall of board games, cozy couches, and a roomy aesthetic basement for group sessions. It's just so much fun to inhabit someone else, Clevenger says. You are not Kenneth, the person that works at a bar. You are a dungeon master, or you're Ulfred the Red, a barbarian with a heart of gold. He said it's also a great way to meet new people, and I've met many great people. If you're hopping into a group of strangers, you can make lifelong friends through that. And also, you get to roll very pretty click-clack math rocks that are very nice to look at, talking about the dice. Dice help move the story along. Clevenger can ask players to roll their dice to sense people's motivations, to investigate strange caves, or get ready for combat. He can plan, but he said he never really knows how a session is going to turn out. And this is what I was speaking about a few minutes ago, that how each session, no matter what you do, will always be the same. There's that aspect of chance that will never go away. I put the players in there, and most of the time they are chaotic little gremlins and do stuff I would not expect them to do. That surprise at what the players do at the table really gives me a lot of fulfillment. Characters can fail and even pass away, depending on how well people roll. He said it leads to some emotional moments. And innately, just over time, you're always going to put a little bit of yourself into that character. Yes, we were playing a game, but maybe I put some angst or anger into my character that I was trying to process. And here we're coming back around to the mental health aspect of it. You're putting a little bit of yourself into your character. Maybe you've always wanted to be the dashing hero, or you always wanted to be kind of the comic relief of a group. You can create a noble paladin or a savvy, quick-witted bard, and you're putting a little yourself of what you want to be or your problems into the soul of that character you're creating from nothing. In a safe space, using an avatar in a game or in the game world, you can process things a lot more safely and amongst friends. Dungeons and Dragons as a psychology tool. The ability to process and connect is something that drew Cheryl Pazber to D&D. That drew Cheryl Pabzers. She's an individual and relationship therapist who was looking for a creative outlet when her friend introduced her to the game. Even 2 sessions in, I'm just going to call her Cheryl, that last name, is saw how it could be integrated into her practice. I was sitting there listening to everyone talk, and it just smacked me in the face. Why is this not group therapy? This is amazing. I'm having so much fun doing it, but I'm learning so much about myself, about these people around the table. It just seemed like a no-brainer at that point. Along with individuals, couples, and family counseling, she started hosting group therapy centered around D&D games for teens and adults. While D&D is not therapy in and of itself, she says it is a helpful tool. It allowed her the space to use techniques like narrative therapy, which can help patients process and change stories they've internalized, and drama therapy, which can help patients regulate emotions and improve relationships through play. She says it's all about rewriting your story. If you don't like your story of your life, then you're the author. You get to choose who the main characters are and what your journey is. And you can choose to rewrite your story in a way that best fits you right now. Over the years, she's seen the clients she's worked with become more confident and more creative. Yes, when you're a lot of times people are so closed off because they're scared. You're scared of like, how will people react if I emote this way or if I say this? In D&D, you're able to create a character and allow them to speak your confidence that you're hiding from. I watched those kids grow up and become friends and start their own D&D campaigns outside of the group, she says. Kids who were very depressed and very socially anxious were starting to stand up for themselves in other areas of their life. Finding new ways to improve mental health is important to psychology professionals like Cheryl. The latest census data shows that more than a third of Texas adults have symptoms of anxiety and depression. And a 2021 report from the U.S. Center of Disease Control and Prevention showed 44% of Texas high school students felt sad or hopeless almost every day for 2 weeks or more. That's slightly higher than the national average of 42%. There's a growing body of research that underlines the ways D&D and other role-playing games improve mental health outcomes. Studies show these games can improve participants' empathy, strategic thinking, moral development, and a sense of social connection. All things that humans we need. That we need either being in real life or over YouTube like a lot of us do now. Like a lot of us here do. All the stuff that happens in the game, whether I'm there or not, but I can turn the heat up on those situations and then we can process it afterwards. Papser says, like, oh, wow, you had a really great idea and then you rolled a 2. That's really frustrating. But then what happens afterwards? Your group came in to help because it's not you alone out there. Here's a big thing that processing grief and loss through Dungeons and Dragons. D&D can even help people process through their feelings of grief, loss, and death. That was James Phipp's experience. She played for almost a decade, including at D20 Tavern in Denton. It actually has become a fundamental part of my life where if I don't know how to handle something, I give the problem to a character and see how they would go through it, she says. You're putting yourself in a different mindset. It really helped me to see from more than just one point of view of any given situation. She lost someone close to her shortly after she started playing, which is something she processed in the game. She says, "My way of coping was to create a D&D character based off how I was feeling at the moment. It was like a super anxious dude who had daddy issues, but it helped me grow through the fear and the guilt." Beyond emotional processing, she said D&D has helped her feel connected. It sounds really corny to be like, "Oh, well, I play D&D with my friends and we're all best friends in the game," Pip said. But legitimately, we are playing full, fleshed out people with emotions. And the fact that these people with such different ideals in game can still find connections and still be friends teaches you so much about the real world. Dungeon Master Kenneth Glever said guiding the players through sessions has helped him grow as a person. Playing D&D and having the experience of being a dungeon master for multiple years, you get a certain confidence talking with people. My communication has definitely grown through that. Before I started, I would not have been able to handle compromise or group dynamics nearly as well. Getting into role-playing games, Clevinger said, has changed his life. And it could change yours if you just give it a try, he said. Might be weird at voice doing voices and stuff, but after a while, you feel weird about not doing a silly voice. One thing I think, like Clevinger really says, it allows the DM to work on their teaching skills, their communication skills, through situations the players throw at you, because you can create a dungeon master can create a whole fleshed out world, but when they sit down for a game, the players can decide he's planned on them taking the right turn at the stop sign, but the players can decide to go down the left, take a left, and it allows them to really work on their situational awareness and improv. No, I was saying when you were talking about the religious stuff, saying D&D was satanic. Nowadays, there is a real evil out there, so D&D should be the least of their worries. Oh, okay, that makes a little more sense. Yeah, I've dealt with that kind of thing before, specifically with some religious nuts in my family. I had a aunt who was very religious, and when I was in middle school and high school, those were the years that the Harry Potter books were coming out every other year. And I'd go off to camp every summer for about 5 or 6 years. I'd go off to camp during the summer, and I'd come back with the brand new D&D, or not D&D, Harry Potter book sitting on the counter waiting for me with like a card saying "Welcome home" from my mom and dad. And my aunt looked at my mom one day and said, "You need to be careful with that. That's witchcraft." And my mom looked at her like, "Really?" And I told my aunt, I said, it's fiction. It's stories. There's nothing to this. Now, if I start jumping off the roof with a broom between my legs, saying I'm screaming, "Where's the golden snitch?" Then you need to be worried when I start putting myself in harm thinking it's real. I even was reading a book series called The Dresden Files, which I recommend. Great book series. The guy's a private investigator in Chicago. So he deals with mobsters and criminals and like your typical city scum, but he's a wizard. So he's dealing with the supernatural, very heavy on Celtic and Norse mythology. And it's really a fascinating story. I was reading it one night, I'm actually at church softball. I'm reading it, and my pastor walks up. He's like, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm like, "Hey, pastor." And I asked him, I said, "Is it okay if I read this?" Like, as a Christian, is it okay if we read this? And he gave me a really good answer. He said, "Personally, my kids are too young to read something like that. His kids were very young. I personally wouldn't let them read that. But there's nothing in the Bible that says you can't. He said, and once again, he reiterated the fact I had with my aunt. Until you start believing it, start putting it above the Bible, then it becomes a problem. And and he said that's with anything. That's with any earthly thing. If you start putting it above your faith in the Bible, then it becomes a problem that you need to remove from your life. And I remember I had a bad experience. I had posted on a local Facebook group. I was looking for a live group, a pen and paper group. And this guy said, "Oh, I can run it, and come on, come." I run a game for my kids when I'm home from work. His job was a boat captain. He would run cargo between New Orleans and the oil rigs out in the Gulf. So he'd be home 1 month, gone in the next month. His oldest son, who was about 18 or 19 when he was gone, would take over. So I was playing, he was gone, and I was playing, and we were going through this dungeon, and my character gets hit in the face with these mushroom spores that basically made him unable to have a sensor. That if it came to his head mind, he was saying it. And one of the other characters, she was an elf, an elven ranger, typical elven ranger thing. And we had played up my Goliath monk and her character. We had this little rivalry we play up for laughs. It was a lot of fun. And he starts saying stuff, and we're all laughing. Well, the kid DM's mom is in the other room, hears us saying this, hears the laughter, comes in and starts raising hell, screaming at me, "I don't like what you're saying and all that, blah, blah, blah." Well, earlier I had ended a fight between the DM, our 19-year-old DM, and his 17-year-old buddy. He didn't like that he'd been told no. He wanted to seduce a dragon. And our DM was still learning it, so he just said no. Later on, I suggested, hey, maybe next time just make like the DC like 30, 35. Make it some impossible roll he can't win. Don't just say no. Just increase the roll. So I ended the fight, and she had come in and started bitching, So I decided, she's yelling at me about our conversations at the table, and I just go outside, and the DM and I go to her, try to explain what was going on, and she just would not hear it. And so I'm just fed up. I'm like, well, fuck you. I'm done. I'm leaving. And so I'm getting my stuff. I'm packing my stuff up, packing my computer up, shutting it down, packing it up, getting my books, papers, pens, figures, all that. So all the DMs, all the D&D stuff you need. I was packing up. She comes in and threatens to shoot me because I'm trespassing. Well, down here, I don't know about other states, but down here, the trespassing law states that if you're invited in but told to leave later, it's not trespassing if you're invited in until if you're told to leave, you don't leave. Well, she told me to leave. I was packing my things up to leave. I could have called the cops for her threatening to shoot me. So that ended that. So, and I just never felt the desire to find another group because I don't want to experience something like that again. But D&D, being at that table, it allowed me. We would have young new players come in all the time, and I love teaching them how to play the game. It opened up new doors for me, and I think that's what the mental health benefits for D&D allows a patient to do. It allows them to open doors. It allows them to take that spectator position that allows them to deal with the trauma because they're dealing with it through another person's eyes and ears and mind. They would take what they learned from the character and apply it to their lives, knowing if it works or not already. It's kind of almost like a cheat code thing, but I love D&D. I love it. I love the storytelling. It allows you to mix so many aspects from all over the world, stories from every culture you can imagine. And it allows us to create something from nothing. I mean, it's just something. It's so amazing of seeing something that you've created, that you've put your heart and soul into, and seeing it grow through the dice rolls, through decisions at the table. There's nothing like it. There's no game like D&D. There's so many games have tried to recreate it and have to some measure of success. It's just so therapeutic, so cleansing. It allows connections with people you wouldn't normally connect with. It's brought so many people together that not many things do in this world. We're so, in so many ways, in nearly every way, we're divided in one form or another. Be it skin color, political affiliation, nationality. D&D allows us to put those aside, analyze those things, and then come to different trains of thought, and without any danger, I think. Sometimes an incident or a situation it is too fresh. You have to get to a point that you feel that you can be helped. It's like no one's able to force a person to get help. You have to come to that point where, okay, I need help, and I think I think I'm now able to get the help I need. So, and maybe D&D isn't the tool for you to use. So I said, find the tool that will help you through those issues. Find a way find something that gives you the therapeutic response that I get through D&D. And if that's counseling, reach out to a counselor. I revealed earlier this week, I'm going through counseling myself. I just started 2 weeks ago with counseling for myself, and it's helping. I think a little too early, but it's a step in the right direction. So I've been at this about coming up on an hour, so I'm going to end the stream. Thank you all for being here. I really love y'all and appreciate you. But find your, as I always say, thank y'all for being here. Give me a like, share, sub, and signing off. I'm the nerd of the Outpost. Find your passion and nerd out about it. I'm gone.
Lost in space, I found my police. In this house, silent to my way. binary code run through my veins. With every beat and beep I feel no pain. Signing off, it's time to go. Goodbye my nerdy friends, see you later. I know through the stars we've shared this ride, but now it's time to